Hello, and welcome to episode 48 of Intercultural Insiders. My name is John McGraw, and I help newcomers, expats, and businesses connect across cultures to succeed in less time and pain. I am the founder of Hyaku Coaching, which is dedicated to helping you create your pathway to success in a new culture. The purpose of Intercultural Insiders is to share the stories of people with intercultural experiences. So if you're feeling isolated or lost, you can hear something from the guest experiences that could help you, even if it's just a reminder that you're not alone. Today, I am thrilled to present part 2 of the conversation with Mattias Hallberg, but as usual, I have a few announcements to make first. First of all, I'm thrilled to be a guest as opposed to a host for a change on the podcast Newcomers on Fire, hosted by Miguel Abascal. I get a chance to talk about a number of things, such as how I got started, the cultural compass, discovering the importance of embracing cultural perspectives, how to speed up your journey by avoiding common cultural misunderstandings, grow your cultural muscles by diving into Canadian culture, bridging cultures, and using your unique background to your advantage in Canada. So all of this you can find on the Newcomers on Fire official web link. You can see the QR code right here to watch the video and also listen to the audio podcast. Again, that's Newcomers on Fire by Miguel Abascal. On another note, coming up this Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern is Coffee with SOS. SOS Talent Management can bring monthly discussions on the topic around talent management. Join us on this audio live event on LinkedIn to learn how small and medium businesses should work on their talent management strategy. We will be hearing from experts Dr. Shweta Sharma and Dr. Ahsan Qureshi. This will be hosted by Hamad Siddiqui as an audio live event. It will be an opportunity for you to listen and also to have your voice heard. And finally, coming up on November 2nd is the session being run by Latin Project Management Network, LPMN, Coaching a Project Manager's Superpower, a hybrid event being hosted in downtown Toronto on Thursday, November 2nd. I will be speaking there along with my colleague and friend, Dinesh Sharma. The Project Management Institute, PMI, defines power skills as the behaviors that enable people to succeed. Coaching is part of a leadership style that involves recognizing team members' strengths, weaknesses, and motivations to help them improve. And in this workshop, Dinesh Sharma, myself, and other panelists will discuss how project managers can utilize coaching techniques to achieve business results through people. Go to the Eventbrite page following the link here as being shown on the screen, find out more, and to register. And with that, let's get on to part 2 of the interview with Mattias. Mattias is an experienced IT executive with a commitment to inclusive environments and high-performing teams. He has a strong background in driving innovation and efficiency through technical expertise, strategic vision, and collaborative leadership. With a focus on employee well-being and psychological safety, Mattias strives to build rapport with his team and create an open feedback culture. Some of the things that we touch on in this second part are the role of trust, how it plays a significant role in different cultures and how to bridge the gap, psychological safety, the importance of psychological safety in teams and how it fosters innovation and change, and also the world of Attuned. Mattias introduces us to his company Attuned, an online SaaS-based psychological solutions provider. He discusses the importance of building trust with customers and the cultural diversity he encounters in his work. So without further wait, let's get on to part 2 of the conversation with Mattias Hallberg. Great point about the similarities with breaking trust, but different processes of building trust. One of the things that's important to point out is that Canada is a little more reserved as compared to the United States, but that initial friendliness is important. Right. How important small talk is here because of that, because you're not going to necessarily expected to get into deeper topics later on. It's possible you might develop those relationships with coworkers, but it's not the norm here. This is why being able to talk about the weather is so essential here, which many people find from other cultures strange. But it's because of that need to appear friendly and talking about unimportant things. But when you're working with people from other cultures, there's a need on both sides to be aware of those differences and to adjust as necessary as well. What would you say would be a way to bridge that gap? For example, if you had, say, a team of people from the US and people from Sweden where that approach might be different in building the trust.
That's a great question. I would say the normal thing would be have some type of team building experience, that you take people out of their comfort zones. You are not just doing your job as you normally do, but you challenged, nudged into a new situation, and you need to look at that with a new mindset, if you like. That would be my go-to solution, that you take them both out of the office and do something new, something different. Hopefully not dangerous, but it could certainly be a bit challenging at times. One thing I've done a few times is that if you have a co-location that you walk to city, let's say some type of orienteering or this type of exercise. So together you have to search for something. It's a very typical human behavior of your collecting food long time ago. I think it's in our genes that it's a natural thing to do together. And by that you wake up this feeling of being a gatherer, collector of food that will hopefully make part of your DNA be more friendly. And by that you might also build trust quicker than you would just do.
Perhaps we can talk a little bit more about the work that you're doing through Attuned and the psychological safety assessment.
I have a great need for being altruistic. I noticed myself when actually I first encountered Attuned that this is one of my strongest intrinsic motivators. At Attuned, we're really keen on uncovering what motivates us. And interestingly, for me, it just happened to be altruism. And what we do, in a sense, is altruistic, that we try to understand people. And by that, we can have companies understanding their employees, their members, and give them much more of that in the mix of motivators. For me, it was very natural to work with Attuned because I felt it was my tool to be altruistic, to be myself. And after we have uncovered the intrinsic motivators, we have continued research into engagement, which is more of when those motivators are not satisfied, and that then builds more happy environments, happy working relationships. But the last step we really start to understand more and more is about the psychological safety in teams, that it's a very delicate balance for people to engage in kind of risky behavior. So if you feel very comfortable of engaging in risky behavior, a lot of good things happen. You will have people helping out, which again is this altruistic behavior. You can ask for help. So not just give, but also ask for it. You can show vulnerability, which could be, let's say you don't know something and you don't really shy away from telling people, hey, I don't know it. Which could even be someone who is senior. They might not have the latest, let's say, technology compared to a junior person who just attended a boot camp for something in that field. To be vulnerable means that you can open up and learn new things, and people who bring this to you will then do that over and over again because they get that good feedback, that you appreciate what they're doing and you respect them, even though they might not be someone with long experience, but still you respect them for what they bring to the table. So there are many good things coming out of building a psychological safety in teams. And I think specifically in the country I'm now, it's been neglected for a long time. So many teams are not innovative. They really fear taking risk, any type of risk, which fortunately or unfortunately in the world today, the only constant thing is change. So unless you take risk and you see a change as an opportunity, you will be left behind. And that is what's going on. I can see many large corporations are not doing enough. Great example is Toyota. They're still the largest manufacturer of cars in the world. But for a very long time now, they have really been avoiding the electrical vehicle field. That's forcing a whole industry in this country to bank on that hydrogen and so on will stay. And there's not going to be any change. So all the suppliers, thousands of suppliers, will not do any change either. Because why would they? They have a steady relationship with these big manufacturers, and there's no need for them to learn anything new. But the effect is that the whole automotive industry in this country will be very left behind. And I think it all comes back to that sense of fear that we shouldn't do anything new. Tried and trusted is better. Those other people, they don't know what they're doing. We make good money. We keep making good money for the next decade or so. So why war? So I think, similar to other products like the Apple, the iPhone, etc. Most parts in the phone came from Japan, and maybe still do, but they never tried hard to make something different. So I think that notion of really understanding that you need to deal with change and you need to embrace it and empower members, it's really important. I feel very happy to be in a position that I can help companies achieving these goals.
That's an excellent illustration of the importance of taking risk or getting out of your comfort zone, and that sense of how creating an atmosphere or an environment of psychological safety would encourage others to take those risks because they know that could lead to good things as opposed to expecting some kind of penalty. How would this psychological safety assessment assist with that?
We are looking into all the different, we call it scales, which is, in a sense, it's an area you can measure by, say, asking a question regarding a certain risk. So typically, as I mentioned, it could be the learning behavior. In the environment we are now, is there learning behavior in a sense that I can ask someone to help me explain something, or I'm open to telling people I don't know something, even though I'm senior. So it could be from senior to junior to senior, cross member as well. And we try to assess each of these areas. I think we identified about 24 now different areas where we have this particular risk popping up in the work relationships. By assessing these, we can then aggregate the information into certain domains, certain fields. And by assessing the team, basically it's a team construct so that you will not really ask people to, let's say, express how they feel about their relationship with the manager. Now, this is more relationship with you and the team. And we can then assess in about 24 different scales how this risk is manifested. And by that, we don't need to make improvements all at once, but we can focus on the areas which are lagging behind. And by focusing and really do that, we believe that the companies will then learn that actually you can make a difference, you can make an improvement. And that positive cycle will grow, and we can give them more suggestions in other fields as they move along this path of improvement.
You mentioned that this assessment is a tool that can be used with teams. Could it also be used on something larger, such as an organizational level?
Yes. So you can aggregate the information. When we assess an organization, we assess it team by team, and then the teams are aggregated. So if you want to look at the total company, for instance, if you assess them about the risk to report mistakes, that could be quite important. But in an average, you actually often conceal the outliers, right? You don't really want to look at an average of everyone. You want to look at the extremes. How many extremes do you have in which part of the organization? And let's say in healthcare, you're not reporting on mistakes. That could be something really bad, right? So interestingly, it's been proven that in a hospital situation, when you start to see an improvement in psychological safety, you might think that means that mistakes or the reported mistakes will go down because people start to improve and talk about it. But actually, mistakes goes up. And the reason is that people start reporting on it and don't have fear to report on mistakes in healthcare. Before they didn't do it because they're scared about repercussions. That if you report, that means you are the bad person. So let's not talk about it. But once that is unlocked, more and more people talk about the things they've seen and the things they did. And that means that the total increasing. So of course, the top management needs to understand that it's just temporary. It doesn't mean that everything suddenly got bad. It means that suddenly it's visible and it's been bad all along. So I think the top management needs to understand that they are now in the control seat and need to be very careful how they proceed next with this new information.
That's a great illustration of the importance of understanding what that data actually means. It sounds like it's an excellent tool for consultants or coaches working with teams and organizations. Yes. Is this something that would only be accessible to people in your organization, or is this something that people outside the organization could get licensed or certified to use?
We are a solution provider, online SaaS-based psychology. So naturally, anyone can become a customer and use it. But we also are interested in working with partners that could provide the added help. There's, of course, a need to consult customers to help them to achieve an improvement in this field. And that can't really be done easily online. We naturally have, as of late, very much AI. We can supply excellent behavior cues online, But if you have a face-to-face conversation with someone, and again, we talked about trust. So building that trust with someone in a consulting position, that is also an excellent way of reaching through. So working with partners, I think it's a very important part as well.
Thank you for explaining that. Is there anything that I haven't asked you yet that you would like to bring up, perhaps, or focus on?
Oh, that's a great question. We did cover quite a lot. You mentioned that many viewers come from India. I worked with a lot of people from India. And of course, I also learned that in India, we have each prefecture and people are very different. And they have their cultures, their languages, religions. And it's quite interesting now when we have more of a flat world and we're working remotely, that those borders are becoming less and less clear. And it's sometimes there's no borders at all. We just feel that we are in the same room. And when I worked with people there, and I, of course, went to India several times, it's very interesting, deep culture, and it takes time to uncover it. There's certain countries, I think, that are not yet maybe as, let's say, commonly known regarding how the culture is. Maybe other cultures are more commonly available, so you can learn the culture. Maybe the Italian culture is very common. People talk and gesture and food is everywhere. Other cultures might be not that common. But I think in Asia, there's such a variety of cultures, food, languages, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's really interesting. And now when we become more and more flat, how we can start to work. And learning is something you pick up very quickly. And with the free education happening on the internet, you can learn anything, even though you don't have much money. So I think this is really opening doors to this large population that we have sitting in this region. I'm not sure if that was any question from my side or more like an observation, but I do think that yourself being a podcast host and you talking to different people, that the whole idea of a world becoming flat and you can do work from anywhere, working with any type of corporation. If you're just interested in taking chances and learning something, applying it and understanding these culture differences, certainly think that there's a lot of positive things that can come from it.
As you said yourself, there is diversity even within countries. I've had guests from India and I would ask them about some of their earliest intercultural experiences. And then they would talk about dealing with people from other parts of India.
Yes.
And that helped them when they went out to other countries because they'd already had that experiences of adapting to different cultures, different languages,
right,
just within the borders of their own country.
Then you go to a country like Singapore and you have 4 languages written on every sign. It's really multicultural, even that's such a small country.
Yes.
Yeah, some really made a great progress in that field, definitely.
It's great because if you're willing to take a risk and look out and connect, and I think this is one thing I particularly like about LinkedIn. It's the easiest way to connect directly with people as compared to any other platform. My experience is, at least within Canada, most people are quite willing to talk. If you're looking for information and you're not necessarily looking for a job, for example, you're not asking, but if you're looking to connect and say, hey, I'm curious about this, whether it's to find out about a corporation or about a national or regional culture, most people are willing to take the time to chat and share about themselves. So that can be an excellent way to find out cultural information as well as searching more traditional online methods. I think we're coming up close to the end of our time here. So for people who want to know a bit more about Attuned or would like to connect with you, what's the best way to go about that?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I think that was a great segue into that as well. So I'm certainly connected and I like to connect with more people. So do reach out should you have any questions, anything I can help you with. I'm altruistic. It means that I'm motivated by helping. So that would be really a great outcome of this podcast session, I think, is to get to know more people. Regarding Attuned, we have a website. You can go there and sign up for a trial. We'd be happy to provide a trial for anyone. We haven't really made a release yet of the psychological safety package. That is to come, but it's been now in development for about 1.5 years. So a lot of psychology has gone into that. A lot of new thinking. But yeah, hopefully we will have that out fairly soon so that organizations can play with it. But that's still to come. Those two, I guess, would be the channels to get to know more about myself and business. So I hope that would help.
Thank you very much for your time today, Mattias, and sharing all of your observations, your experiences, and telling us more about Attuned and the assessments, the package. So I'm eager to see how that develops as well, because I'm sure it will have a great impact on many organizations and teams. So thank you very much. That was part 2 of the conversation with Mattias Hallberg. And from the conversations, I could see that Attuned can be an excellent tool for organizations or coaches or consultants working with organizations to help make their workspaces more psychologically safe, to increase productivity and greater mental health and well-being. I'm also excited to mention that Intercultural Insiders is not only available on LinkedIn Live and YouTube, but also as an audio podcast, which is available on most major platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Be sure to subscribe so that you can get all of the past and current episodes. New episodes are released on the following Monday following the live stream. So that means this episode will be out on audio form on Monday, October 16th. Subscribe to get the episodes delivered directly to you, and leave a review to share your thoughts and raise the show's profile. To keep on top of what's going on with Intercultural Insiders, be sure to subscribe to Intercultural Insiders Info, which is the official newsletter of the podcast available on LinkedIn Live. You can find out about upcoming guests and what they will be discussing. So it's the best way to stay informed about Intercultural Insiders. And last but not least is our upcoming guest on October 18th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, part 1 of a 2-part conversation with Dara Majmundar. Dara is a seasoned talent acquisition professional with more than 10 years in technical recruiting. She has lived, worked, and studied in 3 different countries, and she immigrated to Canada more than 8 years ago and has a great deal of experience and thoughts on adjusting to life in other cultures. Some of the things that we talk about include cultural diversity. Dara shares her experiences with cultural diversity in India, the US, and Canada, and the importance of avoiding stereotypes and assumptions. The journey to talent acquisition. Dara's journey from office administration to talent acquisition is a testament to the power of diverse experiences. She even worked with Robert Herjavec from ABC's Shark Tank. Confidence versus competence. We discussed how confidence is perceived differently across cultures. Dara stressed that confidence should not be equated with competence, as it can stem from various sources. And hiring decisions. Dara shares her insights on the importance of considering a person's work history and performance over their appearance during hiring decisions. Next Wednesday, October 18th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, streaming on LinkedIn Live and YouTube. So until then, keep navigating your way between cultures towards your goals.